move those chairs back away.
Yeah, that's the back. There you go. Yeah.
Entertain your friends.
Okay, yeah. All right, guys. Classic. Real lion. This is one more. Julie was talking about
No. Let me get it.
Counselor Rowe, would you like to join us?
There's never just Mine's closer, David.
Yeah, no, you didn't. All right, everybody, 1, 2, 3. All right. Awesome.
Thank you. Okay. All right, let's start right on time because I'm all about that.
No, I don't mind. I don't want this to come. I'm just going to start dancing in my
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. We're going to start as I like to start on time, so if everyone could take their seats. Okay, so today's Monday, March 18th, 2019, and we are here at Linden STEAM Academy, and our discussion tonight is a public hearing on single-use plastic bags. My name is Counselor at Large Debbie DeMaria. I am the Chair of Citizens Engagement, and on behalf of my fellow counselors, Counselor David Kamel of Ward 6, Counselor Neil Anderson of Ward 7, and Counselor Peg Crow of Ward 1, we welcome you very much to this exciting process that we're about to take in our city. We also have the Business Development Executive from the Mayor's Office, Mr. Kevin Duffy. I'll just talk loud, okay? It's dead. Okay. Okay. So first order of business is our ladies' room and our men's room are right around the corner. We're going to try to keep on schedule. We're going to start off with a PowerPoint presentation that is really going to encapsulate what we're talking about, and then we welcome every one of you to come speak, whether it's pro or against this initiative. We do have a sign-up sheet here, so if you do want to speak, please just kind of meander your way down to sign in. So I'm going to, you're going to have to talk loud. Oh, it's working. Great. So at this point, Councilor Dave Kamel, who is the sponsor of this, is going to come up and certainly go through our PowerPoint presentation to get us all in the mood of what we're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeMaria. So I wanted to say thank you to the folks who have been helped with this. Definitely, I cannot take credit for this. I am the sponsor, but I'm bringing forward something that was initiated by a student at the Mystic Valley Charter Regional School coming to the mayor. I think that was one of the first things that set the ball rolling in Linden dos Santos. And then between the administration and a citizens group started to draft the draft after hearing from more students across the city, started to draft the legislation, the proposed legislation, the draft here, by comparing what other cities have. And we worked with the mayor's office to bring that over to the council, to present it forward to the council and start working on it to make it into our actual legislation for the city. So we want to go through a couple of slides quickly, because we want to leave as much time as we can for you guys to speak. But first, before we go through the slides, I just want to read the purpose from the draft ordinance. So for the purpose of reducing the use of single-use plastic bags to protect the land and marine environment and waterways, minimize litter, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Furthermore, single-use plastic bags create a burden for solid waste collection and recycling facilities, clog storm drainage systems, and require the use of millions of barrels of crude oil nationally for their manufacturing. For the purpose of reducing the number of single-use plastic bags that are being used, discarded, and or littered, and to promote the use of reusable bags and recyclable paper bags by retail establishments in the city of Malden. So, sorry about that. So here's an overview of the problem. We've got too many plastic bags in circulation. The number that we use is unsustainable. We incur significant economic costs by manufacturing and using those bags. Once those bags have finished their useful service, they stick around and they pollute our environment. And in that pollution, they cause harm to animal life and to human life. And we're going to go over each of these very quickly to sort of set the stage why we do this. So how many is too many? So the Wall Street Journal estimates that 100 billion plastic bags are used in the US every year. The average American family uses 15 plastic bags in one trip to the grocery store. But their use, that life of that trip is on average 12 minutes. So these 100 billion bags are used, each of these probably for 12 minutes. And most aren't reused for another purpose. These aren't free. While it seems that one bag doesn't cost much, at 2 to 5 cents, if you look at what we actually use, the average supermarket is paying $1,000 a week for these bags. It's estimated that in Malden we use close to $1.4 million for these. We pay $1.4 million for these bags, and the people who actually pay are you, the customers, because the stores definitely are not giving these away for free. The price of your groceries is adjusted by this, and it might not seem that much, but if it's 0.5% of your grocery bill, think about what that does over the course of a year, how much you're paying for that. Compare it with the other things that we could be doing with that money. So what I was looking at, I was comparing it to the amount of money you spend on groceries might be comparable to the amount of money a homeowner would pay in property tax. And we have a 1% surcharge on that property tax that goes to the CPC. We had a comparable amount of money pretty much going to plastic bags every year. So if you look at the two things, generating millions of bags across the city, or doing something for the city, that money can be used somewhere else. It costs municipalities in our entire infrastructure. We can't recycle these. You can't put that in your recycling area in the city of Malden. It has to go in your regular trash, if it does make it to the trash. Across the state, it's about 100 to 125 tons of these bags every month in our solid waste system. And if we do try to bring them into the recycling material recycling system, they clog up the equipment there. In Malden especially, they don't end up in a landfill. They actually end up being incinerated. And it's not very far away, it's just a few cities way over in Linden. They end up being incinerated in Linden, as the rest of our trash does. And these plastic bags, as part of that, contribute not just to the global carbon footprint, but right here, whatever chemicals are in them, contribute right to our breathing area. We know that they pollute our environment. We see them everywhere. We see them wrapped in trees. We see them wrapped around fences in our parks, just blowing around parking lots, streets all the time. I know I do. Yeah, so even if they do make it to the landfill, they produce CO2, and which I said, when I mentioned ours are incinerated. And if they don't make it into the trash, they make it into our environment. And we'll talk about what happens then. Even the production of them, even when you don't incinerate them, just the production of them alone, we estimate about 34 million bags are used in Malden alone, and just the production of those fossil fuel-based bags contributes 906 metric tons of CO2. That's before the incineration. They don't biodegrade. In the air, I mean, on land, we know that they get wrapped around, they add to our litter. When they do make it into the ocean, they stick around for a very long time. They disintegrate. They disintegrate into a fine powder that these microplastics that our organisms mistake for plankton, and they eat it. It gets into that marine life, and it can eventually get into our own seafood, and you could be eating it. So I don't know what's turning off with seafood, but and the extent of the harm, we don't know which ours it's doing to us. So I think those are some pretty powerful reasons why we should consider this. What will happen when how's it going to change life for our citizens and our businesses here in Malden if we do this? The retail establishment provides checkout bags. They're going to have to either be reusable bags or paper bags. There's a phasing in of this for the larger entities, larger stores in our community. They have 6 months from the passage of this. For the smaller convenience stores, they have 9 months. So we are giving them plenty of time to adjust that. And just for 1 minute, I want to throw it over to the city's business liaison, Kevin Duffy, if you'd just like to talk about.
I'll be very brief. At the request of the mayor and at the request of the committee, I did an extensive outreach to the Malden business community, trying to gauge their opinion on this, gave them the legislation, the presentation we received today. And so 50 of the smaller stores in the city, I didn't get any negative feedback. I think a lot of people there were just realizing that this is the way of the world, so that they're accepting of it. The larger stores and some of our larger restaurants are in multiple communities already. They've already experienced this transition, and they know that it's really not a big deal. Lastly, I did hear from one restaurant that had some issues with it, thinking that it's going to be more of a cost to go from plastic to paper, and there's no guarantee the paper will be recycled. But I think ultimately they see the logic in getting away from plastic.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Kevin. And so that we do want to talk about one quick thing. There will be a couple of things that are exempt from this. In the legislation, and this is based on what we've seen in other cities, which is practicality. Dry cleaner bags, bags for newspaper delivery, bags that are direct containers for food themselves will be exempted from this. So we're talking about the shopping bags that everything else goes into. So the last thing, 93 cities and towns have already done this, so this isn't some crazy idea. It's already in effect in a lot of the cities and towns in Massachusetts. We have 351 cities and towns, but remember, a lot of these happen to be pretty populous. So it actually represents a pretty large percentage of Massachusetts residents are already living with these with this way of life. They bring their recyclable bags, their reusable bags, and it isn't much of an impact on them.
Is it in the U.S. or in Massachusetts?
I'm sorry. It's specifically Massachusetts. Yes.
Okay.
It's not 93 cities and towns across the
And the
state.
numbers got up to 98.
Woohoo! Oh, wow.
Changes daily.
Yeah, I mean, so when I first introduced this, I think it was like 78, so it's been ticking up. In like the last couple months, it's ticked up, and every time we talk about this, somebody's like, you know what, it's not. So we put these together on Friday, I think, and I think it was 93 on Friday, so. But thank you. So we wanted to get very quickly back to hearing from you folks. Wanted to just give you a background of why we're doing this. I'll hand it over to Councilor DeMaria just for MC.
Thank you so much, Councilor Cannell. I think that was great. Can we thank you? And also thank you for the collaboration with the students and the administration and the mayor's office. We think this is great pulled together. So we're here to hear from every one of you. We did have a sign-up sheet. So I think first was Dee Campbell. So let me see if I can get this over to you. Can we? Oh, you can. Okay. Look at this. Okay. MATV is here also. Oh, and before, give me 1 second. I would like to acknowledge two other counselors that joined. Counselor at Large Steve Winslow and counselor from Ward 4 Ryan O'Malley. I don't think I forgot anybody, right?
Thank you, Councilor Maria and councilors, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak at this public hearing. So my name is Deirdre Campbell Tompkins. I live in Ward 2. I was planning to come this evening anyway, but today's news mentioned a dead whale found in the Philippines with 88 pounds of these plastic bags in its stomach. So, needless to say, I think, to open up with that and just, I'm in full support of any ordinance relating to the restriction of the one-time single-use plastic bags. I think Malden cannot afford not to do this. We need to move forward. And for all of the reasons so well, listed by Councilor Campbell. So thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, and next on our sign-in is BB School 8th graders. So come down. And Bill, if you'd like to introduce the students. You want to come closer to the microphone, whoever's presenting.
Thank you guys for having us tonight. I'm Bill Enright, and I'm from the BB School. This is Miss O'Brien. And every year my class chooses some community issues to try to fix in Malden. And this year they've chosen the plastics issue. So it's really a student-driven project, so I want to turn it over to them right away. They're going to explain what CSL is and then why plastic should be banned in Malden. First up is Janisa Zaidi.
Community service learning is a way for students to become active citizens, meaning they are engaged in trying to make their own communities a better place. In class, we start off brainstorming issues in our community, city, or state. Ideas like college affordability, affordable housing, hunger, and homelessness are common issues. Once we decide on an issue, we look for the root cause and think of a goal. Next, we target stakeholders and think of tactics to solve our goal. Past projects include our annual food drive, the recycling bins throughout the city, and reading buddies, amongst others. This year, one of the classes has chosen the environment, specifically damage being done by plastics in the ocean. Our partner organization is Generation Citizen. Here is some material.
My name is Ryan Lee, and this is the Advocacy Hourglass. The Advocacy Hourglass is a diagram that helps students sort out and identify problems, solutions, and the people we want to aim for to help us with our goal. The top part of the Advocacy Hourglass says the community issue, environmental pollution, the focus issue, damage done from plastic products, such as plastic bags and straws, and the root cause, the misuse of plastic bags and straws for our own convenience. The bottom part of the Advocacy Hourglass says, our goal, to reduce the use of disposable materials in Malden and provide a biodegradable alternative to aid the well-being of our environment. Our targets are Gary Christensen, the mayor of Malden, Amar Hernandez, the Malden Public Schools Food Services member, Deb Jeffers, the Salem Public Schools Food Services member, Jennifer Spadafora, the school committee member, and Suzanne Charette, the school specialist at the Mansfield paper. And our tactics, such as research and provide a biodegradable alternative, only use items when necessary, start a petition, and raise awareness. Some examples would be to spread awareness through social media, signs, or advertisements. Persuade others to switch from plastic to paper and contact officials. Thank you.
Before you start, I think we should lift that camera. Put it on a chair. Share
My name is Allison Yu, and after researching, we have come up with some general facts about plastic pollution in our environment. Some such facts include 700 species of marine animals have been recorded so far to have eaten or become entangled in plastic. The buildup of plastic, called accumulated plastic, find their way into our lakes, rivers, and oceans, where aquatic life is in danger of ingesting plastic or being exposed to the toxins that leach from it. There are 5.25 trillion macro and microplastic pieces floating in the open ocean. If we keep throwing away plastic in the ocean, then by 2050, we could have more plastic in the ocean than fish.
Hi, my name is Michelle Dang. Some scientists estimate there are 7.5 million plastic straws polluting the U.S. shorelines, and anywhere from 437 million to 8.3 billion plastic straws on shorelines around the world. 500 million plastic straws are used in America every day, and each plastic bag is used for an average of 12 minutes and then thrown away. There are also some bills still pending about plastic pollution. There is HD 134, an act reducing plastic bag pollution, HD 1515, an act restricting the distribution of single-use straws, and SD 1174, an act to reduce disposable plastic straws with.
Hi, I'm Christine. There are also 4 local communities who are planning to ban plastic straws, such as Salem, Chelmsford, Provincetown, and Andover. These are some papers that banned plastic bags from their communities. These are some materials related to our issue.
Hi, I'm Shayla Lilliander. We propose an amendment to tonight's ordinance. We propose the elimination of distribution of single-use plastic straws and stirrers by all business establishments in the town of Malden. The production and use of single-use plastic straws and stirrers have significant impacts on the environment, including, but not limited to, contributing to pollution of the land environment, creating a burden to solid waste collection and recycling facilities, entering storm drains that lead to waterways leading to the ocean, causing the potential death of marine animals through ingestion, and requiring the use of millions of barrels of crude oil nationally for their manufacture. Thank you.
As pursuing the banning of plastic bags, and then we included straws. So a couple weeks ago, we presented to Mayor Christensen, and he asked us to come here tonight and add an amendment to the ordinance that Shayla just proposed. So what we're passing out is the ordinance that you had, and everything highlighted in that is changes that would also eliminate plastic straws. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's beautiful. Can we leave it there just for a little bit and go up? I just think that's great. Look at all that work. Okay, next we have school committee member Tara Beardsley, Ward 5.
So these are all
Thank you. Excuse me, I'm sick. I just wanted to add on to that as well as my daughter and I, actually students at Salem would have been working on plastic bottle bans, which if you saw San Francisco covered up all plastic bottles today, which is amazing. That's what I see as the biggest problem in the schools. The Salem would did a study. They collected 520 bottles in 3 days in half of the school. So they estimated that plastic bottle use in one school year would be about, that's just the Salem one, would be about 53,500 water bottles. I mean, that's a lot. And so I understand the straws as well as the bags. I completely agree. 3 days. But then they multiplied. I think they used the math. A year. Sorry. Yeah, I can get more stats on that. But I'm in full support and anything moving forward, because our oceans, our planet, we don't deserve to be doing that. Bring your own bags.
Thank you.
Was very instrumental with this.
Yeah.
Lana's with Mystic Valley Regional Charter School.
Good evening. My name is Lana, and I wanted to thank you for having this meeting. I am a 6th grader at Mystic Valley Regional Charter School and a member of the YMCA swim team in my school's Builders Club. I am here to support the plastic bag ordinance, and I know I have spoken to some of you in the past about my passion for protecting the environment and helping people live better lives without the negative impacts of pollution. I believe limiting the use of plastic bags in Malden will help the city and the environment in so many ways. For example, plastic bags are a major litter problem and it costs the city money. I see plastic bags all over the city. Mr. Knox, Malden Public Works Director, has said that cleaning up plastic waste requires time and equipment. In addition, plastic bags have a negative impact on our food source. For instance, seafood is contaminated with plastic particles and we wind up putting them in our bodies. Also, it takes up to 1,000 years for plastic to decompose, and we don't have the manpower to manually clean up all of the plastic waste out there. I think residents can get used to the idea of reusable bags at no extra cost. My mother and I have been using reusable bags for years. It's easy, cheap, and environmentally friendly. Limiting the use of plastic bags will help save money and will also improve the lives of Malden residents. We will also be joining 93 cities and towns across Massachusetts who have passed similar laws. I first spoke to Mayor Christensen about this issue during a science fair in 2017, and I know sometimes people are nervous about change, but to me this is a simple issue. This is about doing what's best for our community and environment. And I know this will not solve the bigger problem of climate change, but it's always best to do something than to do nothing. I really hope we can work together to make this happen.
Okay, so we have Brooke Siege. Yes. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Bertie Segay, and I am 18 years old. I am about to graduate from high school and tread into my life, and yet I am growing up with fear. Fear of what our world is going to be like 20, 40, 60 years from now, what our wildlife is going to be, or the lack of it. Plastic bags are destroying our environment, our biolife, and ultimately us. If implemented slowly and efficiently, this has the power to change Malden and surrounding communities for coming decades and centuries. Malden has been the first in so many things, and we have the chance to be leaders in this too. I'm in full support of this, and I urge our representatives and council members to back it. Many, like our parents and grandparents, might not feel the effect of the dangers of plastic bags, but we will. Our kids and future generations will. Please, let's enact change before it's too late. Thank you.
who do we have? Alana Joseph? Did I say that right?
No, Alan Joseph.
Okay, sorry.
Hello, my name's Alan, and I'm a freshman at Malden MA, and I'm in favor of this bill because personally coming from a country where such legislation like this doesn't exist at all, and there's like rivers filled with plastic and other pollutions, it's watching people drink out of those rivers, it's just disturbing, and it shows a future for our world if we don't stop this now. 10, 30 years from now, my children could be drinking from water that has microplastics in it and getting horrible diseases just because we didn't stop this now. So I hope this legislation can pass so that maybe in the future we can reverse the effects of climate change and save our future generations.
All right, and we have Karen Buck from Forestry. I don't know about you, but I'm so impressed.
Wait, skip the mic.
No mic.
No mic. Okay. Hi, folks. Well, you are a hard act to follow. Thank you very much, and I love seeing everybody here. I'm going to speak for the Malden River. It's kind of my passion. And I do want to say that we are collecting trash and picking up trash and taking care of what's visible. But there's a lot of invisible trash. You know, we see the bags in the trees, but it sinks. And I was talking to a water specialist in Maryland, an urban area just like this one. And she said that, they're doing trash assessments. So they're collecting the trash and counting it, piece by piece by piece. And 70% of the trash they collect through nets in the culverts, 70% of it is non-floatable. That's plastic bags, folks. You know, that's plastic bottles that are full and sink. It's plastic. So we need to take charge. We just need to stop this. We should have stopped it decades ago. We should never started it. But you know, it's easy for us to take charge. And you're all here and you're doing it, and I'm very happy to see everybody. And come to the Malden River. Oh, I have some good news. The Malden River is clean. But it's safe to boat on the Malden River. So we'll see you on the Malden. All right, thank you.
Okay, next up is,
Sarah.
come right down, sorry. Ah, she did.
I probably don't need the mic.
You don't need the mic, right?
If I need the mic, something's wrong. Hi, my name is Sarah Brown, and I'm in Ward 3, and it's great to see all the ages here doing this. This has been a passion of mine since I was actually in 8th grade. I started recycling in my hometown of Santa Cruz, so I've been doing this kind of stuff for a very long time. A handful of us residents actually wrote the ordinance for banning plastic bags and handed it to City Council. So the ordinance is ready to go. We looked at a variety of different ordinances, Medford, Melrose, Boston, kind of saw what they were doing, put ours together. It's ready. I have it on a hard drive at my house. It's been sent to City Council. So I'm going to say let's just put it to a vote and not wait any longer. It needs to be on City Council. There's a meeting tomorrow, right? I encourage every City Council here, we have over half of you guys here, right? Vote for it tomorrow and pass it.
Yay.
put a petition, a thing out, a petition, right? For signatures. We got, as of 6 o'clock today, 204.
So these are them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
204, huh? Wow. Okay, next we have Counselor from Ward 4, Ryan O'Malley, who signed up to speak.
Hey everyone, as was said, my name is Ryan O'Malley, Ward 4 City Councilor. I didn't know I was signing up to speak, I thought I was just signing in. But since I'm up here, I'd like to thank Sarah, Dee, Luann, and everyone else who was involved in writing this ordinance, Karen Buck. I'd like to thank Councilor Kamel, Di Maria for their hard work hosting this tonight. We heard about the whale, 88 pounds in its stomach. That's absolutely atrocious. I can't believe that's even something that is a statistic or a figure nowadays. We heard about the data and the stats. And I think I want to come and do it from a moral perspective. I think it is morally the right thing for us to do. We should not be treating our earth this way. We should not be treating our community this way. What does it show about how we respect ourselves if we're going to treat the world we live in like this? So obviously I'm in full support of this, and I just want to thank you all for being here.
And I do have a last person, Pam Jerome. No? Are you saying no? Oh, you're just... I haven't seen you in so long. Okay, so is there anyone that maybe would like to speak? Even if you're not for it, we welcome you down here and...
I'll speak.
Okay, Councilor Neil Anderson.
Well, it sounds like we're preaching to the choir here, doesn't it? I mean, we are all for this, there's no question about that. I would just take a little exception with the suggestion that we pass this right away. I think that we're going to pass this, but we need to get more buy-in. It's one thing for us to all be in support of it, but we're going to have a couple more of these community meetings, and we want to excite other people as well as we've excited you all, and you all have excited us. So I think it's clear by the presence of the other city councilors that are here this evening and our enthusiasm for this, that this is going through this time. Let's get the rest of our citizens involved. Let's spread the word. Let's not rush it through without getting all of the input that we need, and I'm sure that we're going to pass it. So I have to say also how impressed I have been with all of, particularly you students who have stepped forward to give us your input, and for you teachers that have been guiding you along the way. And I have to say how proud I am of all of you for your participation there this evening. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're really right on time. This is fantastic. On behalf of the committee and the administration, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here and spread your support of this. Please come down, join.
Oh, I just had a question. So, I mean, yeah, so it seems like, we're all in kind of agreement here. I mean, a lot of great facts have been brought up, from the gentleman speaking in the beginning and then the students right here. I mean, and these are all very compelling reasons. What would you say are the factors that could obstruct this from passing?
Good question. So I brought this forward. I didn't write it. It was written by our good citizens, and in conjunction with the administration. I sponsored to bring it into the council. We brought it to usually what usually happens is we bring it out on the floor, we vote to put it to committee, goes to committee, we talk about it a little bit, and recommend it back out or table it. The Rules and Ordinance Committee, and it goes back to the floor. Well, what happened with this, because I think people were a little they wanted to make sure that the citizens were on board. They said, well, why don't we take it and why don't we refer it over to citizens engagement to do something like this, to make sure people are on board. Let's talk to our businesses because it's kind of a big shift. So in terms of change is what some people are resistant to. And what I think Councilor Maria, myself, some of the councilors here, we understand that, but we're going to continue to push it. We're not going to push it so hard that it breaks. We're going to continue to put pressure on it and make sure it gets through. So I can't speak for how the other councilors are going to vote. All I can do is make sure that we make this a priority in our community. Make sure the other councilors hear from their constituents that this is what they want, because that's awfully convincing. Take all the stats and all the moral arguments you can. The most convincing thing is them hearing from the constituents like you folks. And if each one of you can go and talk to 3 other people and ask them to call their counselor, and talk to 3 other people and ask them to call their counselor, they're going to get the message and we're going to get it done.
Following on the gentleman's question, you say people are opposing it. What groups of people are opposing it? It's all great to go and talk to people who are in agreement with me. Who do we need to talk to? Who is resistant to it? And you must have heard resistance
City
to
councils.
it, from city councilors.
The other city councils. Call all of your city councilors. Tell people that agree with you on this, that couldn't make it here tonight. Call your city councilors.
What are the particular reasons?
At city council? Has it been brought up to a vote?
Yes, I brought it in. We brought it. So it's not voted on. It was voted to refer it to the committee, and then the ordinance committee had a vote and referred it to Citizens Gate.
What are their oppositions?
I'm the one, so I'm on your side.
No, I'm just asking, what are the reasons for opposition? Is it an economic, is it an equity thing, is it?
So nobody came up here to speak against it. We had one business to write against it. I think it's less opposition and more hesitation to move too fast. So I wouldn't say that there's steadfast opposition to it. The other people who are going to vote for it just need to know that we are clearly in favor of this. That's what I'm saying.
You're saying hesitation, not straight up opposition. Did these people state what their reasons were for the hesitation?
Do you want to?
I'll say something too.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right, yeah, Steve was looking at the I was actually the one in the ordinance who made the suggestion that we refer this to citizens engagement. Not so much a hesitation, it's really making sure our community gets the opportunity to input on this type of thing. This does impact a lot of people. I mean, everybody in our community shops. So this is changing something for everybody in our community. So I think it was something that raised to the level to make sure we made a special effort to make sure that a broader group of people heard about it. I mean, I think it's great. Kevin Duffy's done a great job. I mean, I was also concerned about anytime you do something that affects businesses, you want to make sure they have the opportunity. They've spent money on bags. We want to make sure they have the opportunity to spend it. So we want to make sure we have that input. So it's just making sure we have the input. And then, I mean, I think there's, now that we've had the opportunity to hear from people, we've had the opportunity to reach out for businesses. I mean, it seems like the green lights are there. And I think, we do have a process. Typically, we have to, the citizens engagement makes a referral back to the rules and ordinance. The rules and ordinance sends it up to the city council. So there's a little bit of time, that takes in the normal process. And that's important because if we don't follow our normal processes, these things can get legally challenged. So we have, there's a bit of dance of legislation that we have to go through, but I think we're pretty confident. We've heard really good things, and I think it's just a matter of now we're going to follow through the process, and I appreciate everybody coming out. So yeah.
I'm sorry, this second has Alan, I believe. So,
Is there a timetable
timetable for approval of this, not for the rolling up.
Like when will this legislation go on to the board of the city council?
So from a timetable perspective, we'll do a little bit about kind of how the city council works. So Councilor Kamel sponsored the paper. That paper goes to the full council, and that paper is then referred to a committee. It was referred to the ordinance committee at the end of last year, where it currently sits. The ordinance committee asked the public engagement committee to hold a public hearing or a public forum on this topic. That's what we had here tonight. What it would take now, if we wanted to move on this as quickly as possible, tomorrow evening, the city council could vote to take the paper from committee to the floor and vote on it. The only problem with that is by doing that, because it's not on the full council docket, that would be considered an open meeting law violation. So we're not allowed to do that tomorrow. We could do it, but we could be challenged. So we're not allowed to do that tomorrow. What we could do is, the following week, we could request that Councilor Spadafora, who's the chair of the ordinance committee, put it on the agenda for ordinance. It can be discussed at that point and then voted out, so that the following week, so 2 weeks now, it will be on the full council floor as a committee report, and then it would just require 6 votes to pass. So the quickest we can pass this in an ethical manner would be 2 weeks.
So that requires us to get, that's if the other councils vote in favor of this, which is why I'm asking you to call them, to put the pressure on them. Because we can go there in committee and in the council have debate on it, but the more pressure from outside, the more effective our debate inside the chamber is going to be.
Is there a weighted difference between the voice of businesses that don't want to do this compared to individual residents of Malden?
So
in terms of their influence,
we have, so the numbers that we have, the businesses we spoke to, except for one business, as far as...
And they weren't even really against it, they were just asking to kind of explore all of it.
Yeah, they had, one business had concerns about it and didn't somewhat fully oppose it. Everybody else we've spoken to in the business community were fine with it. Especially the bigger ones who are already doing it in other communities anyways. We do this in Cambridge, we do it in Summer, we do it. So there was not as much, but that's where I thought we would get some opposition. A few folks who are usually environmentally minded also had some concerns with whether it would affect lower income people more than everybody else. They thought it might be a little bit, we weren't taking that into consideration. So, we want to look into that. Yeah, sorry, so lower income and elderly who do, rely on using these bags. So we can find alternative ways for them to do what they need to get done, carrying the groceries or whatever. We have to lend them a hand, but I don't think that should stop us. Just in terms of, I think, folks, we're a little apprehensive. That's a great word. Yeah, apprehensive about pushing the change too quickly. But again, the folks, this person is going to push it as hard as I can. So.
Let me just say something else. I don't think that I don't sense that any of the councilors are apprehensive. I get the sense that 11 councilors who are going to vote for this, it's going to go to the mayor and it's going to be signed. I think we have a lot to gain by having a lot of citizen involvement in this. It's, you all are all bought into this idea. There are a number of other citizens who haven't even thought about this. And I think that we can get much more compliance with this, much more buy-in from the citizens when we have a couple more of these opportunities for people to have something to say about a change, a major change that's gonna go on in our city. If I were a betting man, I would say, put your money on this one. This one's gonna go through. Let's just get people involved and wrapped up. Do you want to say something? Sure.
Yes, please, Councilor. So thank you all, councilors, for being here and engaging with the public. This is really an amazing thing that you've done. The one thing I do want to point out is we have over 200 signatures. So to your point of the meetings, what I hear all the time from folks is we don't have time to go to meetings, so that we had 200 people sign on to a statement saying, we're actually behind the curve on this. And there's about 40 really positive, really wonderful comments. So I'm happy to make more copies of that. Folks need to take a moment and read those to maybe think we don't need any more meetings because we have, how many people have 225 residents who have come together to say this is the right thing for Malden. I hope it carries more weight for you. Not for you,
Yeah,
for the council. Thank you.
If we're trying to influence the city councilors, I think that influence has already taken place. Now, a concern that I have is just making sure that we influence in a positive way the rest of the citizens of Malden. And the way we do that is by having this kind of dialogue that takes place. Again, I'm not a betting man, but I would bet my money that this is going through. I think we want to get more citizens to feel the same kind of enthusiasm for this that we are feeling here this evening. That's my comment on that. Thank you.
If you can speak loud, you won't have to come down.
This sounds like the city council is trying to postpone the process of this going on. Because like she stated again, 225 citizens signed, well, 200 signed a petition in favor of this, and 25 of us came here to see this. So I think that's enough of Malden to say that we want this.
Yes.
I just have one question. I know Councilor Camillo, he talked about calling ward councilors.
Yes.
Should we only call our ward councilors, or should we call all? Because I know there are some that are against, but they're not my ward councilors. So who should we call?
I mean, I think a call to your own ward councilor is probably the most effective.
Okay.
And
the at-large.
Okay.
Two.
George, we hear you.
Yeah.
We hear you.
Your ward council already has a spot.
I
I'd like to know, is the Chamber of Commerce come in and weighed in on this? Has anybody discussed this with them? Because I think a lot of people defer to them as, a spokesperson, a valid spokesperson on behalf of businesses.
Absolutely, and I apologize, I did not mention that in my notes earlier, but I did reach out to the Chamber of Commerce. They sent it out to all of their members, which is over 400 businesses in the city. They did not receive any feedback on it, negative or positive. Again, the sense I'm getting, and this is me getting into it, is just, I think everyone understands this is the direction we're all going. So I don't think there's any opposition out there, and the only thing that was raised is like, okay, we might go from plastic to paper, but is there another alternative? And just to talk about the timeline, I know we have 220 signatures, but we did lay out that we were going to do this, as Steve said, in a certain dance. It's a process. It may seem like a long time, but really it's not. But you're going to do it right if you do it in time, if you give it the length of time. Like, for example, tonight the school's brought up, let's add plastic straws to this. So really what we're doing by soliciting input is we're not trying to ram this through, we're actually making a better piece of legislation. And by we, I mean the councilors and the mayor, not me. But they're doing a great job. So if we just kind of go along the path we've set here, this will get done in time, and it will get done right. So, thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Well, I would just like to add, in order for this to be successful, and I hope this goes through quicker than Dunkin' Donuts and their styrofoam cups for 4 years. Anyway, is education. I think that, we have seen a lot of resistance to the blue bags, and a lot of that is from lack of education. I mean, a lack of communication, actually, and education. And I think that the city needs to make that extra effort, not just public meetings, but actually, well, we can talk about that later, but the education is an important component. And I do ask that this move quickly because it's way overdue. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I get the sentiment of trying to not move too fast, in the sense that you don't want to provide that shock to the rest of the citizens. And I'm not as well versed as Ryan spoke earlier about the process and the different committees and so forth. But I hear I'm sorry.
Councilor Anderson?
There's a the councilman here saying we want to work this in slowly. What would be that's kind of an abstract statement. I understand the sentiment, but it's an abstract statement. Would there be a concrete deadline until we decide to push this through? And what would be the periodicity of having these kind of meetings until you get the confidence to say, let's push this through? I guess is my question.
We're going to break in
It's for anyone.
Okay, so from the citizens' engagement, I'm going to bring this back to our committee, and then we're going to decide what day is our next meeting, and maybe on the other side of the city. Even though I know there's a lot of you that are here from Ward 3, we're going to do the other side of the city and see what other comments come out. And again, then at that point, we go to the ordinance committee and give them our recommendation, and then it gets voted there. So this is March, I would say probably May. I would comfortably say May for it to be on the floor for a vote. And we break at the end of June, so this should be done by then. But then there's that period of time for our businesses, 6 months, I think. Right?
Yeah, 6 months for the, I think it might be 8,000 square feet. I have the minutes. It's 8,000, so for 8,000 square feet and above, we give them 6 months. 8,000 square feet and below, we give them 9 months.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing our homework, and that's what we need to do to get an A+. Right, students? So,
yes, yeah.
is there anyone else that would like to speak because we're here for you? Anyone else, even opposing or for or any other comments? Dee?
Can you zip over? There we go.
I would like to just read the comment.
The microphone going.
Okay.
Put it in drive.
This is a quick comment that I would love some assurance that this be a done deal before the budget season begins.
Absolutely.
Because I know what happens with the council and how much work is put into the budget. So I would just really, emphasize that. Thanks.
So,
If it was up to me, we'd get it on the floor next week, but it's a process. So, and Councilor Cannell is our finance chair, so let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah, no, so you can't give assurances about other people's votes. You can just continue to push them, right? So I think that's what we're going to do. That's what I'm going to do. If we need to hold more meetings, I brought it forward at the end of last year. I was ready for it to be discussed in rules and ordinance and passed last year. So, but the folks who've been doing this longer suggested, let's make sure everybody knows about it. I said, okay, let's do that. So however many we have to have, and then six of us.
6 votes?
Yeah, and we can't really.
You have 6 council people here in the audience right now. Right.
No, I understand that. There's 5 that are here, and it has to get out of the rules and ordinance committee. So.
Right,
if-
so like.
Call the other 6, call the other 5 that are here.
Ryan said if it pulled out of committee, so I'm clear. If it's pulled out of committee, it could in 2 weeks be on the city council's vote in 2 weeks.
That was a theoretical timeline as fast as possible.
Fast
Those
possible.
votes, that won't get voted on.
Because
It won't get, I'll tell you right now, I know the other councils won't vote. They won't vote to pull it out of the committee. Most likely.
Because it's amazing to me that 200 signatures is not way huge, because I'm out in the community, and 6:30 is tough to get to a meeting. I pushed to get here at 6:30, this is important to me, and I'm only, like, out in Coolidge Corner to get here.
Yeah.
So, and Julie said too, people don't have the time to get here for this meeting, it's still important. So that 200 signatures should be counted as like 200, more, way more than it's the number there. And that was how many weeks we had that. That's
Right.
only been
So I would
out for
suggest
2
you call
weeks.
Council at Large, Spec 4, that's put him on the spot. But he's the chair of ordinance. And there's, there's 5 other councilors. 6 votes will get this through. But you gotta get it out of the rules and ordinance committee. If it gets tabled in there, then we look at other ways to do it. But
So we just
the council's hesitant to rip it out of the committee. So we'll see. Alan?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but why does it take 2 months for the council to vote on something like this? When once again, she stated 200 people voted. Well, not voted, signed a petition for this. Why would it take 2 months for this to even be
You're asking a guy who wanted to start in October, November, so. I'll defer, I'll give that question to somebody else, because I wanted this done several months ago.
So I think we don't mean to discourage anybody here, because you rock to come here, take your time, give your presentations from the students. So I think it's just our homework. You have our vow that we're going to move this as fast as we possibly can, because it's the right thing to do. So I don't want it to go down a rabbit hole that we're not listening to. Certainly 204 signatures and 25 or 30 people in the audience certainly speaks volumes. So again, we do appreciate it. Yes?
What were the opinions of the businesses on the alternatives cost and if they're gonna if it's gonna be good for the business?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question one more time, please? Sorry.
What's the opinion of the businessman on the cost of the alternative? And is it gonna affect, is it gonna be good for them?
Well, the way they're looking at it is all businesses are always worried about their bottom line. So what they spend now for the point of sale bags is very cheap, because plastic bags are super cheap. If they have to move to a paper bag, it's going to cost them more. So that's not necessarily eating into their profits. That's cost that's going to be passed on to the customers. And so then there's a point where the customer says, I don't want to shop there because you're too expensive compared to them. So it's always a very delicate balance with the business. They get that this is the way everybody's moving. It's not good for the environment to stay with plastic, and that's why 99% of the businesses I talk to were like, okay. One business said, you're going to force me to go to paper. Is there another alternative? Can you come up with something else? And so that's why I was saying they weren't really in opposition to this, but they asked us to just kind of work a little bit harder to see if there's another alternative out there. So did that answer your question?
So it's something called alternative way, and it's happening all over the world. It's something called Take a Bag, Leave a Bag. And there's, I can't remember the name of the organization. They actually meet once a year here in Boston. They make bags, and the whole idea is at grocery stores, you bring a bag and leave a bag, so that you're hoping people who couldn't afford a bag or forgot a bag, that they just take a
So
bag.
the idea is everyone that has like extra bags at home, they just bring them in and then people can just start using those?
Yeah.
So there's no capital cost to start
There's no
the
capital
program?
cost, and a lot of those bags are created by like T-shirts, people are donating those. They have a time, I missed it last year, I'm not sure what's happening this year. But they said like 30, 40 people come in and they do quick sewing bags, and then they go to, they don't go to all the local stores, but the major stores get and have a location to talk to, like, no, you have to talk to Stop and Shop and say, hey, where would be a good spot to do this, right? So,
I hear
I mean,
you.
a lot of it is like, as you guys are saying, like more meetings, but this is educating people of how to have bags and how you carry. I mean, I've been doing this for so long, I always have a bag in mine.
Yeah, you know that.
Right? So I
Let me
have
just
to-
raise a point there, and I'm not in opposition to what you're
Yeah.
saying. I actually just want to underscore the point. That's an excellent idea. And that addresses that one business that said, you know, do you have something else? And if we said to all the other businesses that said, yeah, okay, look, there's an alternative that's not going to increase your cost, they jump on that. But we wouldn't have known about that until we had this meeting. And who knows, maybe the next meeting has another good idea. And we're only talking 2 months, so it's not a long time. I know 2 weeks seems like, why not get it done? But Karen mentioned the blue bags, and you know, you get gun shy when you bring up the blue bags. That's a good program. It accomplished what it needed to do. I'm a resident, I do the blue bags. It drove down our trash, it increased our recycling, but the way it was done bothered people. And I don't think anybody here wants to go through that again. So if we take the 2 months and reach out and solicit as many good ideas as we can, this is a good piece of legislation that we're already all behind. So I just wanted to say, excellent idea, but it was this meeting that brought that idea that maybe it gets incorporated.
But I mean, it's going to take, once it passes, you have 6 to 9 months for it to go into effect, right? So there's a lot of educational stuff that can continually happen to do that, right? I mean, I'm in my 40s now. Junior high, 7th grade, right? 89, a class of 12 got recycling done in all elementary schools, all high schools in my town of Santa Cruz. We went in, we got recycling done. We went into all the classrooms and showed how that was done over the end of 7th grade and all into 8th. But we were able to get recycling bins into the schools because we went as a crew and brought in blue bags or blue buckets or something.
Right.
And we didn't wait for the school district to give them to us. We didn't say, they said, oh, we're gonna take time. And my class was like, nope. Blue bins went to every elementary school, one, and we went in and we showed how garbage, a big garbage container, and how you can take it out and recycle it. So I'm saying, we have a huge amount of time to educate. We have thousands of people in Malden. We've got things happening, like somebody mentioned earlier, San Francisco has banned water bottles. There's towns that charge 25 cents for a bag because then people are conscious of it instead of 5 cents, right? So there's a lot of knowledge in this room, those 200 people. We have 6 months to do education and have people come for this as it passes. Because as everybody in this room has said, it's going to pass. And then instead of saying, let's wait 2 months and then start educating, let's start the next meeting as an educational.
I agree with you, and I think once this goes into effect, there's a great opportunity for the education, and we should all do a major outreach, and it starts with the kids, just like they do with seatbelts, right? But what we're talking about here is the actual legislation. And once that gets voted in, it's in place. And so and this is my opinion, and it might not be popular, but I don't think 2 months to make sure we put the right legislation in place, the right ordinance, is a lot to ask. You don't want to have somebody come in and challenge it, and you don't want to have somebody come in and say, this is good, but this would have been better. Whereas if we can just take the time now and put this in place, then that's the law. And then we've got the time, the 6 months, 9 months, to do the education to convince people this is the way we can do it. Again, I'm not arguing against you because I think we're all in the same room. I'll get down. But I just think that this is a good idea that came out of this meeting here, so hopefully there's more.
And I just want to follow that up.
Thank you.
Once you put the vote out, if you push the vote, you say we're going to vote on this right now, and it goes down, that a similar ordinance due to our rules can't be introduced for another 2 years. So if it goes to a vote and it fails, you can't do it again for 2 years. So it needs to pass when it finally gets the vote.
But so I
think that gentleman.
I would like to give a suggestion for an alternative. I found it on YouTube that I think an organization in China is like sort of making an alternative to plastic bags. They're using like some kind of starch or vegetable that allows the plastic bags to get dissolved in water. And the creator of the bag also drank the water to show it's like,
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be, the first step would say you can't use plastic bags, and then I think the businesses themselves would go and seek out those kind of alternatives. We could suggest those alternatives to them, but first we've got to make sure we push them in that direction. Councilor Malden.
So I think, who's frustrated in the audience? Raise your hand if you feel frustrated. So I think that what we're feeling, even though I think we're doing the right thing here, I think it's very clear that the vast majority of our residents are in support of this. And I think that having this meeting tonight, we've done our due diligence. I don't think that we need to have further public meetings on this. I think that it is going to be posted in the ordinance committee. That is a public meeting that anyone who is in opposition to this or in favor of it could attend. That committee is the ordinance committee. On the ordinance committee, there are 5 members. The chair is Councilor Spadafora. The vice chair is the Ward 1 Councilor Peg Crow. Ward 2 Councilor Paul Condon is also on the committee. Councilor Kamel is on the committee, as well as Councilor Winslow. I haven't spoken with them, but I'm counting 3 councilors here on that committee. 3 of 5 is a majority. We've made a rule change that allows 3 members of the committee to put it on the agenda. You don't need to have the permission of the chair to put it on the agenda. So these 3 councilors, Kamel, Winslow, and Crow, could put it on the ordinance committee agenda next week. They could vote to refer it out favorably, as amended potentially, with the suggestions that were made here today, so that it comes out in 2 weeks. There's no reason why we can't do this in 2 weeks. We've heard from the business community, we've heard from our residents, we all know, everyone in this room, what councilors sounds like they're in favor of it. I don't think that this needs to take 2 months.
Councilor Malden?
Okay, Julianne.
Yeah, so because you sort of said the course is to reach out to Councilor Spadafora. I actually did, and what he's told me is that it's on tap for 2 weeks. So he actually has it going up for 2 weeks. So it actually sounds like everyone is aligned.
Right, I just don't want to speak for him until I...
You just said yes. So can I tell him you just said yes?
Right.
We're ready.
So thank you, Councilor Spadafora.
Yes.
Is this actually considered a citizens engagement committee tonight? So
Yes.
that you guys could actually decide whether or not to have that next meeting? So you guys...
Yeah,
so,
the citizen, I'm not on
This
this.
is a public hearing. It's
it's
not
not a docket to vote. All right, so that's one of the things. So usually the Rules and Ordinance Committee would await a report from the Citizens Engagement Committee. So that if that comes quicker, then the Rules and Ordinance, and that sounds like it could come in a couple of weeks if you guys want it. So thank you.
So I am super excited. Thank you so much. This really, really has been enlightening. I really appreciate it. The citizens of Malden are amazing, and we hear you. There's 6 of us here, so we hear you loud and clear, and thank you for all your work. Thank you for the presentation by BB School and our Mystic Valley Charter School student who did a lot of work on this. Thank you.